Hello everybody, welcome to today's webinar. We'll just wait for everybody to sign in. So just give it a minute or so just while everybody signs in to join us, and then we'll kick off today's event. Still got people joining us, which is good. Okay, I think I'll start us off then. Welcome to tonight's webinar, Leading the Way. My name is Catherine Levlins. I'm the People and Wildlife Officer at the Trust. And one of the best things about my job is that I get to manage our volunteer network of young leaders. These are a wonderful team of volunteers, and I'm really looking forward to seeing their presentation tonight, along with the rest of you. This is the first time I've heard it. So it'll be really nice to hear directly from the team themselves all about what they do. And I'm not going to tell you too much about them because that's obviously what they're going to do tonight. So I don't want to spoil that for you or for them. But they are an inspiring bunch of young people, a very driven team, and they're an absolute joy to work with. And they're also great fun as well. They make everything they do fun and interesting for everybody who's involved. So we'll be hearing today from two of our young leaders, Ali Lemon and Chinedu Nasude. And also later on in the evening, Imogen Beck will be joining us for questions and answers. So there's three of our team here today who you can quiz and ask questions to towards the end. Which brings me very neatly on to some housekeeping points. So you'll notice at the bottom of your screen that we have a questions tab or a Q&A tab and a chat tab. So in the questions tab, please do post any questions that you've got throughout the evening for our young leaders. And also you can vote on the questions. You can give a little thumbs up if you think a question is really interesting and you think you'd like to hear the answer to that too. So do use that, and we'll use those to navigate through the Q&A at the end of today's talk. And also use the chat tab there, and you can use that for comments. And also we'll be posting links and resources into there throughout the evening as well. Please know that the talk is being recorded so that other people can watch at a later stage, or you can catch up on YouTube at a later stage. But don't worry, the recording doesn't record the audience or anything, it's just the people on the screen. And please note that we're not using the little hands up, the raised hands function in today's event, so we won't be using that. So that's all from me. I'd like to now hand you over to the first of our young leaders to take you through the first section of the talk, who is Ali. So Ali, if you want to start your presentation.
I will unmute myself and not make that error straight away. So just 2 seconds and I will load up my presentation. Does that look all right to everybody? I'll do that as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Ali.
Cool. Okay. So thank you, Catherine, for a lovely introduction there. And welcome to everybody who is attending the talk tonight. Lovely to see you. And thanks for joining us on such a lovely evening. Also, welcome to anybody that's watching this on catch up as well. So let's get started for our Young Leaders Leading the Way talk. So first up, I'm just going to do a little bit of introductions, just to say, so I'm Ali, and then there's also my two colleagues, Chinedu, who's doing the talk with me, and then Imogen as well, who's helping Nick and Catherine in the background with any questions and things that you might have. So I've been a young leader since 2018. When the Young Leader project started. And I kind of got into the environmental sector when I studied marine biology at the University of Stirling. And then after graduating, I went off and worked in the events management field for a while. And I also studied events management as well at RGU for a wee while. Realized that really my heart was working with wildlife and in the natural environment sector. So I came back and I did a master's at Edinburgh Napier University in wildlife biology and conservation. And then from there, I was really fortunate to get a job straight out of uni. So I worked for Frog Life, and then I worked for Bug Life, and I currently work for the RSPB as a conservation officer. So I'll just hand over quickly to Chinedu. So if you want to just unmute yourself, Chinedu, and then give your introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. Yep. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay,
that's fine. Can hear you. Yeah.
That's fine. So my name is Chinedu Candidos Nsude. I'm originally from Nigeria, but I just recently completed my master's at the University of Aberdeen, where I studied ecology and conservation. So my interest is on biodiversity conservation before I joined the Young Leaders. I've been with the Young Leaders since January 2020. That is the second phase, the second intake of the Young Leaders, and it's been an amazing journey so far. I grew up in the tropical region of Nigeria, where I grew up, where there is a lot of biodegradation and biodiversity loss. So that really prompts me to ask specific questions about some specific species that are going extinct. And from there, I developed passion for conservation and joining University of Aberdeen and joining young leaders through the Scottish Wildlife Trust has been amazing experience for me. And here I am today. Thank you so much, and stay tuned.
Thanks, Chinedu. So I'll just, so that's the two speakers, just a quick introduction to both of us. So I'll just give a quick overview of the evening. So I will be doing the first part of the talk. So the talk's going to be split into two. There won't actually be like a break in the middle. It's just I'll be sharing my screen and then Chinedu will be sharing his screen. So please bear with us while we are swapping over in that moment. So I'll be doing a quick overview of like who we are, what we've been getting up to, and like how did we get here to today. Then what we sort of an overview of what we've been getting involved with, and a quick overview of the sort of events that we do as young leaders. And then we'll start going through like what have we been up to, where have we gone, and how did it all start. I'll then move on to and talk about our conservation awards, which is one of the biggest projects that the young leaders have worked on. And then I'll also talk about our wildflower sort of training event that we ran as well, that a group of the young leaders ran. And then I'll pass on to Chinedu, and he'll be talking about our Facebook page, the Wildlife Champions. He'll also be discussing our climate conversation event that we had. That's probably the biggest event that the young leaders have self-led on. So that was a really fun project for everybody involved. Then, yes, we are going to be talking about politics today, but I assure you it's all very relevant. And then I will go, and then Chinedu will move on to telling you about some of our successes, and then also a bit about our future, what we have planned, and then also a little bit of a summary about what how we got here and what we've been doing over the past little while. So please sit back, relax, and join us on our young leader journey so far. So the why. So the idea for the group came off the back of an official review by the Scottish Wildlife Trust. They did a review on the volunteering opportunities within the trust and found that there was kind of a gap for some of the younger people in general, but mainly for younger members of the trust. There wasn't really a specific way for them to get involved, and it can be a bit daunting getting involved with say for local groups and things because they're already set up and established. So the idea was to try and develop a way for young people, specifically between the ages of 20 and 30, to get involved with the work of the trust and help them try and get more young people involved with the trust work. So that's where the why kind of what came from. So then the what we've been doing and the sort of how did it all start. So back in 2018, as part of the Year of Young People. As some people may remember, the year there was a lot of events going on, all promoting young people's engagement with different activities. So back in 2018, that's when the Young Leaders Programme was launched by the Trust. So the idea for us was to come in and really engage with the Trust, look at what the Trust were doing for people in our age category and ways we could get more people involved, give young people a chance to see how a charity operates, and also basically just give a place for young people to come together and basically geek out together about wildlife. Our age category can sometimes get a little bit left behind. So it was quite nice for us all to kind of come together and find those other people in Scotland that really wanted to learn more about wildlife and get more people engaged to find out about the amazing species that we have in Scotland. And this is the who. So this is the current cohort of young leaders. There are currently 12 of us. It's varied from time to time about how many people have been involved. So currently everybody's aged between 20 and 29. It's open to Scottish Wildlife Trust members aged between 20 and 30. The original team consisted of 12 people as well. But naturally people have left because they've got out of the experience what they needed, or they couldn't commit to the time commitment anymore. And we also have had our first retiree of the programme. So you're allowed to stay in the project until you turn 30, up until the end of that year that you turned 30. So we had our first retiree, which was very sad to see, but it's part of the process because it means then we have a recruitment process and then other young people can come on and share their ideas, and it develops and grows. And it's just a way to keep the project sort of organic and moving forward always. So there's still a few original people that are still from the start in 2018, and then as Junaid said, he came in at the second sort of recruitment process, and then we had a few more people, 4 people joined us earlier on this year as well. So where do we work? So the majority of the team is based in Glasgow and Edinburgh and the Central Belt sort of area. I'll be moving back out to Stirlingshire in a few weeks after moving house. Then we've got Sinead, who's based up in Aberdeen, and then we've got Emma, who's based up in Orkney, and she bases her time between Orkney and Shetland, but she works in a project up there. So it's quite nice. We do have quite a nice geographical spread of people. Yes, most of the people are in the Central Belt, but we do have those outliers as well, which is really great for getting involved with other things. So I just wanted to give a quick overview of the sort of activities as young leaders we've been getting involved with at the start, from the start up until now, and just to give you a flavour basically of the sort of things we've been doing and how we've been getting involved with the Trust work. So as I said, the Trust undertook the review back in prior to 2018 and saw that there was a need for this opportunity for 20 to 30-year-olds to get more involved with the Trust. So the Trust had specific tasks they wanted us to achieve as young leaders, but they also wanted us to be able to get something out of the opportunity as well. So skills to be able to go forward in the sector, but also the ability to meet other people our own age in the conservation sector, but also help the Trust deliver key aspects of the work that the charity does. So since 2018, young leaders have been involved with over 60 events. They vary across a wide variety of topics. So we do a lot of stuff where we get provided with opportunities to go into school sessions. This was prior to COVID, where we would go in and we'd help the likes of Catherine and Nick go to a school session and engage with kids about the sort of species that they could find on their doorsteps or the education programme that the Trust run. We also have different engagement opportunities. So you'll see here a picture of a Halloween event where we go out and we engage with people at some of our reserves, but also other sort of family fun days at parks and aspects like that. We also get involved with some policy work. So that's where we get involved with the Parliament, Parliament team, the policy team, so Bruce and the team in that sort of area. So that's things like our parliamentary programme that Junaid will talk about a little bit later. So you find out a little bit more about our parliamentary campaign that we ran as part of the Scottish election. We also get the amazing opportunity to represent the Trust at events. So that's what you see here at the top image and the bottom image. So we're basically given this opportunity to go to Parliament events, to go to launches of sort of key, I'm trying to think of the word here, like casework sort of things, launches of new programs and that sort of thing, so that we get to engage with people, talk to them about what the trust does, talk to them about what the young leaders are, and we get this amazing opportunity to mingle with people that people our age might not usually get the chance to do. And it's a real honor to be given that chance and that trust to go and represent the Scottish Wildlife Trust at these things. We also get to attend training sessions, so that's things like social media training or learning more about the trust at an induction. We do some comms work, so that's things around sort of blog articles, or you might have seen in the latest magazine or the prior magazine. Imogen, Nina and I did an article at the end about what we wanted to see from COP. And then there's also internal meetings. So we have the Conservation Committee as part of the Scottish Wildlife Trust. So this is sort of the body that looks at the conservation issues that the trust work on, and then they deliver their expert opinion back to the council, who are the board of trustees and the senior management team. So we get invited along to that as young leaders to give our youth perspective, and also the opportunity to learn what's happening at reserves, the big projects that might be coming. And then we can see how, as young leaders, we might want to get involved with these projects as they develop. So that's a really another fun opportunity, because we get to meet these people and learn more about how the charity works at a higher level going forward. And also we do young leader led projects. So we as young leaders can pitch and come up with ideas that we think would really work well as part of the Young Leaders Programme and really fit in with what we are trying to achieve as young leaders. So you'll hear a bit more about some of these, but these could be the Wildflower event. We've got the climate change event as well that you'll hear more about later on. And these were projects that someone in the group had come up with, and then we all helped in, we all chipped in at various points in some of the projects and things. So it's really fun to be able to do that, take hold of something and take it from conception all the way through to the end. And it's really nice to see that. So that was just a quick overview of some of the things that we've done. And now what I'll do is I'll just take us and I'll start us on our journey through where we are, and we'll be dipping in and going into more detail about some of those aspects that I covered just briefly there. So how did we get to the point where we're representing the trust? How did we get to the point where we're coming up with ideas and managing to lead on them and represent and being able to get invited along to things like the Conservation Committee? So let's take a trip through our story so far, and hopefully you'll be enlightened by the end about how we're able to do what we do. So it all started with the launch. So the Young Leaders launched, as I said, back in 2018. And after a grueling application and interview process, no, I'm kidding, it was lovely. Catherine was lovely throughout the entire process. We actually ended up with our first initial 12 Young Leader volunteers. So the event launched back at the AGM in 2018. And yeah, so I very vividly remember having to stand up in front of everybody at the AGM along with my other young leaders and like kind of wave and say hello to everybody. That was our first sort of initial experience, and it was quite nice. Everybody got to know who we were, and we also got to see who the other young leaders were in the room. So that was quite nice. It was also actually our first event that we were asked to attend. So Charlie here, you'll see them in the picture that's up on the screen in the grey hat next to me. Yeah, that was a very cold day at the Falls of the Clyde when this photo was taken, as you can see from our attire. So Charlie was asked to sit on the panel for the final questionnaire at the AGM and the volunteer day in 2018 to give sort of a youth perspective and an initial idea of like how the young leaders might engage and the sort of potential that we had as young leaders to be getting involved. And that was a great opportunity as our first event. So it's thanks to the trust that they invited us along to do that. So a few months after that, we all got together at the Falls of the Clyde, as all 12 of us got together as our first sort of meeting. Not all of us were able to attend the AGM. So this was the first time we were all in the same room, able to chat and get to know each other. And this is where we first kind of learned about the two big projects we were going to work on, which is the Conservation Awards and the Facebook group, which I'll come on to in a minute. We then had the great opportunity to be able to get taken around the reserve and find out a bit more about the management of the reserve, find out what they do, find out about the visitors, and things like that. So it's really cool to be able to get that sort of practical side at the end and get out and do a little bit of wildlife watching with people like my own age and people. So that was really nice. And if nobody's been to the Falls of Clyde yet, I suggest a visit when things allow and when everything's open and stuff. It's a great opportunity and it's a great reserve to have a visit. So go say hi to the team down there. So with the launch and after the launch, we came on to our conservation awards. So this was the first sort of big project that we were asked to work on as young leaders. This was one of the things that the trust had seen as a key outcome that they wanted the young leaders to deliver alongside the Facebook group. So this was one of the things the trust had set us to go forward with. And it was kind of to give us a focus so that we could get our teeth into something as we started. So the idea behind the project was to give individuals the skills and the knowledge that they needed to get a job in the sector after maybe being at uni, that those extra skills that employers are looking for. So those actually hands-on people engagement skills, or those actual practical skills of digging a pond or planting a wildflower meadow, that sort of thing. And we were asked to help design the program as we were young ourselves, so we knew the sort of barriers that young people might face going into this. So what was it that that we could help design into the program to help overcome these aspects. So a key outcome of the project had to be that it was very practical and it had to be very flexible. So with a lot of these things, it can be with a lot of volunteering, it can be you have to do a set number of days. So we came up with, yes, it has to be a set number of hours you do, but it was to work with your volunteer manager to decide whether you did that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or if you did like that flexible time. So as long as you delivered the same amount of hours to get your award, then that was fine. If it was maybe doing some social media stuff in the evenings or attending events in the evenings and things, then that was fine to do that. And that was where we were really keen to have that flexibility for people, because if people are at uni or if they're working, then they need that flexibility to fit the volunteering around. And that was one of the key things that we wanted to try and get across from it. So it's very similar in format to the Duke of Edinburgh, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. So it has a bronze, silver and gold, and each level requires a different level of commitment, bronze being 3 months, silver being 6 months and gold being 12 months. And as I said, it's not like a full-time thing. You don't have a full-time position for 3 months. You do a certain number of hours or days as part of that program. And it can be flexible around public engagement stuff, practical stuff. It's all about getting the skills that you feel you need and that help the volunteer manager deliver for the reserve that you're based at. So the people that sign up to do the awards are assigned to, and they apply to go to one of our reserves. So currently it is our Falls of Clyde, our Jupiter Wildlife Centre and our Montrose Basin Reserve that volunteers can sign up to take part of. So we had a trial period after we launched the program. I think it was in 2019 we launched the program. We had a trial period just to see how it would work. So we had people sign up. We have had 2 people do bronze, and one of those people has also gone on to complete silver. So that's fab. We've had people actually come through the program. We can see what's working, what's not working, and the whole point in the trial was to adapt if we needed to and things like that. So the project is live, but it's on kind of hiatus, and it's still kind of now in a trial period still, simply because we were going to launch it because it had been successful. But because of COVID, everything had to be pulled back. So conversations are currently happening about how we go forward with the project, but we're looking forward to seeing things move forward with the Conservation Awards. Like, all the young leaders are really proud of this project. It was something that we were really keen to see be successful, because we realized those skills and how hard it is to get a job in the environmental sector. So we really wanted these people, the people that joined up, to help us develop this a bit more. So we're really excited about seeing this going forward. So that's our Conservation Awards. So up next is our Wildflower project. So this was our first project where the young leaders decided to come up with the idea and then take it from the start all the way to the end. So the project was able to go forward thanks to funding from the Wildflower Society. So thank you very much to them for giving us the young leaders the money to be able to undertake this project. So the idea came from a group of young leaders wanting to do some training exercises for people to develop their skills. So they set up a Wildflower Course. So the young leaders took this project, as I said, from start to finish. So they developed the idea, they saw the gap that they needed, they went out and secured the venue, which was the Jupiter Wildlife Centre. They then recruited a wildflower expert to come and run the course. And they also, with the funding, managed to buy and supply wildflower identification resources to the attendees. So it was really successful event with a lot of people attending, and they had a really fun day getting out and actually getting practical. So it was really important that we had a practical side where people could go out and actually use the knowledge that they had learned and be outside and actually get hands-on with the ID guides so that they knew how they worked and that sort of thing. So it was really nice. It was also a really nice day, as you can see from the photo. Everybody was really lucky. So the event was open to trust volunteers and staff, and all the feedback that we got was really good. So it was a really nice, successful event for the young leaders as one of the first sort of self-led projects. It was kind of dipping our toe in the water type thing to like try and see what is it like, how did we do, and yeah, it was really successful. So a really nice well done to the team that managed to do this part of the project. So that's me done speaking. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass over to Chinedu. So please bear with us as I stop sharing my screen and Chinedu starts sharing his screen. And thank you everybody for joining us. So Chinedu, are you ready?
Yeah, I am, Ali, thank you.
Cool. I'll just mute and stop.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Ali, for taking us through the whole process, how the young leaders were formed, and some of our success stories as well. It's quite amazing what we've achieved over a short period. So I'll be taking us into one of the important segments that the young leaders achieve, which is the Wildlife Champions. The Wildlife Champion is a Facebook group, and it's an idea that the young leaders came up with, and they were like, what platform can we disseminate information, or what platform can we share information to reach the wider audience across Scotland, not only Scotland, but the entire UK as well. So and a fantastic idea came to establish a Facebook group so we can actually share some of our activities, some of our engagements, some of our trainings, and perhaps share some of the activities or some of the wildlife that are currently in Scotland. So this group is for age, though it's an age bracket of 20 to 30 years old, but as well, it doesn't matter if you're a beginner in conservation or if you're an expert in conservation, it accommodates everyone. It's actually a platform where one can learn as well. If you don't know much about Scottish wildlife, you can actually join the group and you learn more. I've learned amazing things from the group. It's where everyone, even though it's been piloted or it's been governed by the young leaders in support with the Scottish Wildlife Trust, it's a platform where everyone could be, and just to say their mind, to actually share ideas about wildlife and biodiversity conservation across Scotland. So I personally have learned so much because there's no, we don't actually restrict people. And there's currently a 30 days challenge ongoing. You have the opportunity to see amazing wildlife across Scotland, not only Scotland, but the entire UK as a whole. You have the opportunity to share your ideas. What wildlife have you sighted? So at a particular point in time, during maybe a United Nations organization, we kind of put a kind of challenge, maybe once in a while. Oh, what bird do you sight in your backyard? What bird do you sight in your outing? Did you go to bird sighting? What are you doing? Just the way we have the 30 days challenge. What kind of wildlife are you sighting? So it's quite amazing what what people are citing and sharing, and we kind of see what's happening across Scotland. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic, and it's an active community. It's very, very active, where we have a lot of people, they come in. So this small group started. The group started with a small number of people, but as of today, we have a number, approximately 500 members across, sharing information about what's going on. And as well, there are also opportunities where one can share, like in terms of job opportunities, internship opportunity for young people, a lot of things that are happening on the group. So it would be nice if you check out the group and see what's really happening. I bet you're going to enjoy it so much. So it's one of the fantastic it's one of the fantastic initiatives that the young leaders came up with. And it's something that it's something that we've received an incredible comment. We've received incredible feedback about the group, and people saying, yeah, this is amazing, and people testifying that it's something that's really widened their horizon when it comes to Scottish wildlife generally. So it's nice if you could check it as well. So another great achievement, like Ali mentioned earlier, it's an event that the young leaders came up with as well. So this is one of our biggest events of the year. So it's as we all know, it's one of the most challenging. It's one of the most challenging topic. It's something that people are looking at globally. Is climate change. So we came about the idea. It's good if people get to know about what is climate change and how people can get involved. So we come up with an idea to organize a webinar, and this webinar is an idea developed by young leaders, as we mentioned earlier. So we disseminate and we divide the talks to actually reach all points or all angles as well. So we look at it in the point of climate change activities, in the perspective of climate change activism. We also look at it in the aspect of climate change research. We also look at it in the aspect of climate change policy. So we are combining the ideas of activism, passion. We're combining the ideas about knowledge, the scientific part of it, the research part of it. We're also combining the policy, what are the politics, the economy, the socio-economic development that has to do with climate change. So all this we incorporated and we come up with a fantastic webinar that was held on 29 January. So it was a group of, it's not just a webinar, but it's also an opportunity. It's more like an interactive opportunity platform, because people kind of send in their questions, a lot of the deliberations during the webinar, and people get to learn, and people know how they can be involved, in the whole process. So it's quite amazing. It's quite amazing what how the webinar turned out. So so far the webinar was attended by, but we have, apart from the many reactions we have, it was attended by over 40 people. And it's currently if you want to listen more about the webinar, it's currently on YouTube. You can actually listen and see what our keynote speakers have to say when it comes to climate change. So it's one of the biggest events that people say, this is something we have to be doing often. And this is something we have to do often. And this is something people could actually learn from and know how they could be part of it, how they could be involved in solving some of these, some of the menace, some of the biodegradation that we have in our environment. Oh, because there are some activities that people don't know they're actually doing that actually have impact on the climate. And through the webinar, we're able to share information. As small as it is, people are beginning, we create that awareness. People are aware on how the activities can actually have impact on the environment. So it's widely, people shared, a lot of comments coming in, and it's massive. So it's one of our biggest events of the year, and it's awesome. So you can check it on YouTube, you can watch it and see how, then you can send us your feedback, your comments, what you think about the webinar or whatever, even though it's been carried out, but it's also an ongoing process, because it can never be overemphasized about how the climate has really changed over the years. So yeah, in as much as we're advocating and we're creating awareness about biodiversity, conservation, ecology, and the rest of them, about our environment, general, and Scottish wildlife, it's also important for us to use every opportunities we have so our voice can be heard. It's also another platform for us to actually know what is really happening with our government, how we can send our requests, and how people, in terms of policies, how people can actually pass bill and sponsor bill and pass bill. And so ahead of the Scottish election in May, the young leaders came up with a brilliant idea that why don't we chip in ideas? If these people are coming to office, why don't we chip in ideas about what we really want to see in our environment, regardless of the year? It could be 2020, it could be 2021, it could be 2022, 2030, depending. Just the way we have the Sustainable Development Goal to be targeted at 2030, we also have our 11 actions targeted at every other person, targeted at all these actions will be achieved in a specific year. So the young leaders came up with 11 actions. So they came up with 11 interventions, and this is to urgently prioritize our investment when it comes to nature recovery. So it's a nature recovery actions. It's just to safeguard the future of our wildlife and also the societies, the economy. So when we outline this 11 intervention, it's just for nature recovery across Scotland. So what we do is, since we have these 11 actions and the young leaders were 12 in number, each person picked a particular goal to actually write a small article or a small essay or like a kind of piece and just send it on Twitter. So so far the essays, the Twitter reactions, we have more than 6,000 reactions and more than 5,000 reactions, and we have more than 6,000 views on Twitter. So it's massive, and everybody, the comments were coming in about the 11 actions. So it's something on Twitter. You can actually check it out. So what we do, like as I was saying previously, what we do, each young leader kind of pick a particular goal and discuss it. So we kind of spread it across 11 days. So we started with a video where we kind of send an awareness, and people know that, oh, a particular event is about to happen. The young leaders are promoting this, and the young leaders they're actually creating awareness on what we want to see across Scotland by so and so year. So it happens that each particular day, our young leaders is going to send in an essay or an article where everyone could see and send your comments, retweet, and do a lot of things. So it's a project during the Scottish election, and we see a lot of our politicians retweeting and our politicians being interested in everything we're doing. So I'll be playing a short clip, just less than 2 minutes, for you to see what we do. It's just a recap of the 11 nature recovery action plan, and also what the young leaders have been saying and what they want to see happen in Scotland by a specific year. So I'll be playing, it's less than 2 minutes, and you enjoy it.
We're the young leaders at the Scottish Wildlife Trust, and we want to see 11 actions from the Nature Recovery Plan at the centre of party manifestos in the upcoming Scottish Parliament elections.
Deliver a significant expansion in Scotland's native woodlands annually from 2020.
I want to see the introduction of a new legislation to achieve a sustainable and low-impact fishing by the end of 2021.
We want to see the implementation of licensing of driven grouse shooting by the end of 2021.
We are looking to reduce deer populations and maintain them at sustainable levels through new or improved legislation by the end of 2021.
We want a commitment to ensure all new development is net positive for nature through the National Planning Framework 4 in 2022.
We want to see a Scottish Nature Network in the National Planning Framework 4 in 2022 and see its delivery by 2030.
End of burning on peatland and the commercial extraction and sale of peat for horticulture across Scotland by 2023.
We want the introduction and application of new rules to improve the use of nitrogen by 2024.
We want to see a Scottish invasive non-native species inspectorate established by 2025.
Transform Scottish agriculture policy by 2027 so that it facilitates and rewards nature and climate-friendly farming.
And finally, we want to see at least 30% of Scotland's seas highly protected and at least 10% fully protected by the year 2030.
Amazing. So this is what our young leaders are advocating. So the major thing is just supporting these actions so we could actually see a resilient economy across Scotland. We could actually see a viable ecosystem and to also support ecosystem services to promote our wildlife across Scotland. So it's also a means to actually meet our climate change targets, as well as create a sustainable development, a pattern across Scotland. So this is what the young leaders are advocating, and it's massive. It's something we actually put across. It's a great initiative. It's a great, fantastic idea. And I can tell you the comments coming in are amazing. They are incredible. So you can as well support our actions. You can as well support us in what we're doing. So another great thing that happened for the young leaders is the young leaders winning the Trust Award for Volunteering 2020. So it's amazing. It's something, just imagine an organization that started within a short period of time, 2018, but the impact has been felt. And what we're doing, like Ali said initially, it's a group of highly passionate and enthusiastic young people who have come together to advocate for a sustainable ecosystem, a workable ecosystem. So we are really excited that the Trust has actually seen what we've done and have awarded us this group presentation, the group award, the group award for the year 2020. And just look at us, isn't the picture fantastic? It's awesome, everyone is happy, and we're actually glad. So the award is not only for what we've done, it's also a means of encouraging us and supporting us in our work. It's also an opportunity to encourage us and say, oh, you have done awesome, we want you to do better. So it actually encourages, it promotes us, and we are coming up with great ideas. We're coming up with fantastic ideas on how to maintain this group and how to promote and how to create a sustainable ecosystem across Scotland. So we are open up to collaboration, we're open up to ideas, we open up to a lot of things that will actually create this thing, and we look forward to actually winning award as many as possible, hopefully, and we'll keep the trend going. So yeah, another fantastic, so this is just a summary. I'll be giving a summary and our future goals as well, a summary of what we've actually done, a recap of what we've actually done, and what our future goals or what our future plans are. So the summary is just like a little pie chart that is summarizing our activities, what we've actually been doing, the categories we've actually been concentrating more, moderately or less. So it kind of gives us, we keep track of our activities, and it kind of gives us an idea what we should do, how we should improve it, which categories or which sector are we not doing much. So it gives us idea on how to actually improve, and the areas we've actually improved and how to maintain it, or the ideas how to expand it or something. So it gives us like a recap. You can see we have different categories in the areas of education. Remember the training that Ali mentioned earlier, training, the aspect of policies, what are we doing, engagement, even though some of the activities can be contradicting, like in terms of can fall in one or two places, but it gives us an idea of, oh, this is the area you let's concentrate, so we actually do more about it. So how well are we representing the trust? Because if you look at the chart, I'm quite happy as well, because if you look at the chart about representing trust, when the young leaders were formed, particularly me, before I was recruited, part of the role is to actually support the Scottish Wildlife Trust to achieve its vision. And what is this vision? The vision of resilient ecosystem, and the vision to have a sustainable and working ecosystem as well across in Scotland. So yeah, representing the trust in terms of what the trust stands for is amazing, because the trust has been doing amazingly well, and to see how our wildlife can actually be protected and promoted. So it's actually a good thing that we're on track. And the areas, we actually know that those areas that we've not done so well, we'll actually improve and see how, when, and how to do it. So this is what the pie chart is depicting. So about our Twitter, part of our goal, part of our future plans, Twitter, the young leaders has been very, very active, but our activeness has been maybe you sending us comments through our website. We have a website under the Scottish Wildlife Trust. So the young leaders have its own website. we've been receiving comments, and part of it again is through the wildlife champions that we've been receiving over the past few months or the years. We've been receiving comments if you want to reach us. But amazingly, we come up with an idea to have a Twitter account. You know, it's actually an amazing platform where we can actually disseminate information and to reach a wider audience as well. Not everyone is on Facebook, but people are on Twitter, and it's a nice platform for us to actually have a Twitter account. So we're working towards having Twitter account over the past few weeks, months, and I'm happy to announce to you that our Twitter page has been launched this month. So it's also an incredible achievement in the side of the young leaders. You could see how we've been actually moving, and every month is from one month to another is just like a breakthrough, just activities coming up, and we've been doing amazingly well. So before the end of this presentation, I'll be sharing with us our Twitter handle. You can as well follow us and see what we are into, what our next activities are going to be, what we plan to do next, what's our target, what we are up to, and also whenever we are dormant, to actually spread us up and encourage us. So this is an amazing opportunity as well. So about COP26, as we all know, the Conference of Parties, the United Nations Climate Change Conference was scheduled for November 2020, but unfortunately, due to the global pandemic that happened last year, it wasn't feasible. It didn't come to pass, and so it's been rescheduled to hold I think 31st October to like 12th November this year. So the young leaders come up with an idea that this is a fantastic opportunity for our voice to be heard as well, because this is a global event, as well as it's a global event, and it's where leaders about climate change are going to come to deliberate, to actually talk about climate change policies, targets, a lot of things about. So it's another opportunity for us to learn, apart from learning, for our voice to also be heard across Scotland. What is it we're doing? So the young leaders are currently brainstorming. We're currently brainstorming to see how to carry other young adults across Scotland along to actually promote what is it we have. So like I said earlier, you can follow us on Twitter to know what the outcome is. So in the couple of weeks, we're going to come up with something. We're going to spread in our website, in our Wildlife Champions, or on our Twitter page. So it's a nice thing we're doing, and we are currently on the project. Just last week we're actually talking about. It's an ongoing project. By the time we are done with it, we're going to share it to the general public. So we look forward to more campaigns. We look forward to more events. We look forward for more engagement as well. The young leaders over the years have come a long way. We've come a long way in terms of activities, and all I could see is just a young group of passionate beings, young people advocating for change, advocating for a sustainable ecosystem. So we're not tired. We're not tired, and we can never be tired. Not now. So we are open up to more campaigns, more events, and more engagement in the couple of months, years as we go by. So watch out for us, follow us on our pages, and you're going to see what we're up to. So this is our Twitter page that was launched this month. We're happy. The picture was taken to the SDG award in the Scottish Parliament. So it's amazing, and you could see it. And please follow us on Twitter to see what we are up to. So it's a team of 12 Scottish Wildlife Trust members and volunteers, each helping to connect with and represent young people. This is another opportunity for us to actually share ideas and also tell the world what we're up to. So this is our webpage. On the website, you can see our Facebook, the Wildlife Champion. You can also follow us on Facebook and see what we're up to. You can actually send up what you're doing as well. If you're participating in the 30 Days Wildlife Challenge, if you've seen any amazing wildlife across Scotland, you can actually send it. If you don't know what to do, I think it was yesterday we actually discussed it with Catherine. She came about a fantastic wildlife, and a lot of process happened along the way. But yeah, she called some kind of protection agencies to look after. And if you come across any wildlife that is stranded or something, you can actually send us send a picture or anything. We can actually help you out, see the appropriate channel, the appropriate place how we can channel it, and the rest of them. So it's an amazing opportunity for us. So I want to use the opportunity to thank our funders, our leaders, the headquarters, the Scottish Wildlife Trust, for these great opportunities. This opportunity is not only about us; it actually have improved our skills, organizational, scientific skills, policy, communication skills, and a lot. We've actually, the Scottish Wildlife Trust has actually given us opportunity to represent a trust in variety of platforms, and it's an amazing opportunity where people get to know what's happening. Like I said, the Wildlife Champions group on Facebook is not only about Scotland, even though it's targeted on Scotland, but we've seen engagement across UK and even globally as well. So I want to thank our founders, want to thank Scottish Wildlife Trust and everyone participating here for having the time to come and listen to us. Thank you so much. You can send us your comments. You can send us what your question, where you think we should improve, anything you want us to do. You can actually send us the comment, feedback, anything. So we are happy to hear from you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Shadu, and also to Ali. Absolutely brilliant talk there, and so nice to see in summary everything that the Young Leader team has achieved in the past 2.5 years now, I think it is, since the Young Leader team was launched. It's absolutely amazing, and really nice to hear your passion coming through as well. I just want to apologise to our panellists and also to our attendees this evening, as the chat function has not been working while you've been giving your talk, and we're very sorry about that. Thank you to those who have let us know. We did have a little investigate. We think it's to do with the settings, and we're not quite sure how to fix that during the talk itself. So if you do have a comment, please do feel free to just post it in the questions tab, even if it's not a question. That's totally fine. And likewise, if you've still got questions, do put them in there. We're still taking questions ready for the Q&A. And as we've just reminded you in the chat, if there's a question that you would like to be answered that you can already see there in the tab, give it a little thumbs up, and that'll help us prioritize with the Q&A as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to invite our panelists, our speakers back to take part in the Q&A, and I'm also going to bring Imogen on as well. And Imogen's been monitoring the questions, so she's going to start those up for us. So I'll just wait for all our panelists to come back. Here we are. Nice to see you all again. Right, so Imogen, if you want to go into the Q&A and start us off with the most voted question that we've got in there.
Okay, thanks, Catherine, and thanks, Ali and Chinedu, for the talk. That was great. So we've got a question here from Ngozi, who's joined from Nigeria, and has asked, how does the organisation collaborate with other organisations, especially those in the Global South? Is the organisation only focused in Scotland? Does anyone want to pick up that question?
I can, yeah, I'll go.
Go ahead, Ali. Go for it.
No, Imogen, on you go if you want to have a go.
Cool. I'll kick off from a young leader's perspective, and Catherine, maybe you can add a little bit about the trust more generally. So for the young leaders, our main focus is on nature in Scotland. So a lot of the collaboration we do is with other environmental organisations in Scotland. We are hoping in the near future to be able to collaborate with more young leaders throughout the UK. It'd be great if we could do more than that and extend it further, but the key focus of the group is nature in Scotland. Catherine, do you want to add anything on Scottish Wildlife Trust in general?
Yeah, sure, thank you. Yeah, we have a Scottish remit, with us being in the Scottish Wildlife Trust, and the funding for the young leaders is coming from our core funding, so it's coming from within the organisation, and also because we're still a very early project, so we've only been going a couple of years, so everything has kind of been focused in Scotland. As Imogen said, we've been working a bit more and collaborating a bit more with other trusts recently, and we hope that continues. So that's other wildlife trusts around the UK. And we do definitely collaborate with other organisations in Scotland, and that's really beneficial for everybody when we collaborate in that way. With this year being COP26, we're obviously hoping that we might have an even greater reach. There's potential for a global reach there in some of the work that we're doing. And certainly with things on social media, as Sinead was saying, the reach again is much broader for us there, because we can interact with an audience, a global audience, on our social media platforms. So yeah, hopefully it's onwards and upwards, and we can do some more collaborating in the future.
Thanks, Catherine, and thanks for that question. That was a good one. Next, we've got a couple of questions here from Kevin. So the first one is from you, Ali. So you spoke about how the bronze, silver and gold awards for the conservation awards might reach those who are already environmentally aware and want to develop their skills. How do you think young leaders believe you can best reach and educate those of any age who do not have such a strong environmental awareness yet, so they too can start making a difference?
Okay, thank you, Kevin, for the question. It's a fab question. So I think some of the ways that we as young leaders can maybe engage more people who aren't as environmentally minded at the moment. Obviously, it's really important that we get everybody along on the journey to save biodiversity and help combat the climate crisis. So I think using our Facebook page, I think that's a really useful way. So our Wildlife Champions page, it's open to anybody that wants to learn more about sort of wildlife in Scotland and ways in which the Trust work to help wildlife and combat the climate crisis through our work. So I think that's a really good way for people who are maybe like, it's aimed at people kind of just getting into wildlife, and it's like an open way for people to discuss and learn, and like there's no such thing as a silly question. Everybody started somewhere, and I think that's one of the key places that people can learn. I also think our Twitter account is going to be really useful as well. We'll be able to get maybe a larger reach with Twitter, with retweets and follows and things. And I think that's going to be a really key way for us to deliver, especially in the lead up to COP, and going forward with all the work that we're doing. I think it'll be a really key way, because we can tag people that maybe have a slight environmental thing, and then we might get a few retweets as well. I also think it's important from a young leader point of view for us, as like in our own personal circles. Not all of my friends are into wildlife and into the environment as much as I am. And I think just having discussions with them, so knowing that we as young leaders, we are young leaders, my friend group knows that they can come and ask me questions about this. So I get dropped questions about what's this type of bird, and what's this type of animal, how do we interact with these species, and that sort of thing. And I think that's a really useful way from a personal point of view as well, just having those conversations in a sort of relaxed way. And I think being part of the Scottish Wildlife Trust as a young leader really opened that door a wee bit more, because people realise, oh, actually, Ali is involved in this. He knows what he's like. He knows some of the stuff he's talking about. I'm by no means an expert, but I do think it gives a chance for people to know that they have somewhere they can go and like direct, and I can then direct them in the right place. So I think those sort of 3 areas are sort of key to how we go forward as young leaders and how we work with other people. And I do think there are other ways as well that we can maybe do a bit more, doing some communication with other organisations across the UK, and trying to work with them a bit more as well, and doing some like blog posts as well for other organisations that might not have heard of the young leaders, and just using that tone of like that introduction and getting people on board with us in a sort of friendly manner. I think that's really key to it.
Thanks, Ali, for that. We do have another question from Kevin here as well. This one's for Chinedu. You spoke about some political campaigning the young leaders are doing. How successful have you been in gaining active engagement from MSPs in the Scottish Parliament?
Yeah,
I don't know if you know off the top of your head, Chinedu, but no pressure.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Kevin, for the question. I think it's something we just recently did in May, and we've put it through. So I think how policy works, it kind of the time frame and the rest of them. But the thing is, I think just like Ali said, the impact or the measurement can actually be measured in terms of the audience, how many people have actually retweet this, how many people have actually seen it. So one of the strategy we adopted during this campaign is for us to actually tag these people during our campaign so they could see it. So what we do is if we know the particular MSP that is responsible or something that's into the system, what we do is to the relevant stakeholders. So when we put up a tweet or when we put up the article, we tag these relevant stakeholders or the politician as well. So during the campaign, we could see people retweeting. We could see some of these politicians retweeting it as well. We could see the comments, and we could actually track this and see, yes, we're actually on the right track and we're making progress. So just like it is, it's time frame, and it's something we have to. I think we have to give it time, but for the time frame or for the time being now, we've actually seen people be responding to it. We've actually seen position being interested and discussing about it. People have actually raised some concern, fine, but people have actually been retweeting and say, oh, this is a good initiative. This is something we actually have to look into. So yeah, this is it. But if Catherine wants to say something, Ali, yeah, you're free to say something about it.
I think that was a brilliant answer, Chinedu. Well done. Yeah, impact of advocacy and policy campaigning in general is very difficult to measure because you don't see those results until a long way down the line, and sometimes you don't know which things that you've done have caused the action. So it's a notoriously difficult thing to measure. But as Chinedu said, one thing you can do is sort of measure the interaction and engagement with the work that you've done. And I remember that the tweets that the young leaders put out on the lead up to the recent election had a really positive interaction, a high interaction rate on Twitter, particularly the video that you all saw during the presentation, really engaged well with people. It introduced those 11 things that we were looking for the government to commit to, and we still are looking for them to commit to as priorities. And it just got it out there in a really nice informal way. And as Julia said, if you can tag the politicians on Twitter, it's a bit like, writing a letter and sending it to them. It gets their attention, and the more people that are involved, the more notifications they'll be having to alert them to this content and to alert them that people think this is important and it's important to them. So it's difficult to measure, and it's something that, as we continue to grow as a team and we continue to do a bit more policy work, we'll be looking at which things we're doing are most effective, and then from that what we can do a bit more of, because it's definitely one of our priorities to kind of up our political action to try and effect change. Fantastic. Have we got any more questions in the Q&A, Imogen?
We do have a couple more, and another one that's been sent through via message as well. So I'll just do that one just now. So Shelley asks, what is the most challenging element to being a young leader? That's quite a good question, but quite a tricky one. Ali and Chinedu, if you want to take that.
Yeah, I'll have a go if you don't mind, Chinedu, first. So actually one of the challenges that I find is actually knowing what to get involved in. So it's like the time, it's like balancing the time. So like I work full time and do other volunteering with the trust as well. So it's about knowing what bit of the program to go with, because there's so many opportunities for us and there's so much really cool stuff to get involved with. So it's about balancing that time. Yeah, so that's one of the challenges that I find is and it's kind of a positive challenge, not knowing exactly what to get involved in.
Excellent.
Yeah, I could add up as well. So from my personal experience as well, one of my challenges is when I was studying in Aberdeen. So it's kind of just like Ali said, it's a kind of time clashing between my studies and also the activities involved. So it could be like we have a particular let's say event that is supposed to happen this time, but then you're engaged with other things and in terms of priorities and trying to measure, which one am I going to go for? But the good thing about the young leaders is when you're engaged in something, you find out another person taking up another task, doing it. So we have this natural systematic way of adjusting our activities where even if you don't take an activity, someone else could just take it and everything will just balance before you know it and everything is sorted out. So it's quite fantastic as well.
Thanks, Chinedu. Yeah, good supportive group. Okay, and we have a couple more questions here. It's an anonymous one. So based on your experience on the programme, what would you say are some of the main barriers for young people getting involved in the environmental sector? Do we have a volunteer for this one?
I can have a go.
Go ahead, Thank you.
So I think some of the challenges that I've sort of seen are probably two of the main ones are financial and also transport. So there can be expectations so we're always told we need more experience, but to get more experience, we need to usually pay to go on a course. So it could be building up our identification skills or learning how to do a specific survey. And they are available, but like they can cost several £100s. And when you're at uni and you've got a part-time job already just to like try and get through like the week and pay for rent and stuff like that, trying to get that money as well to then go and pay for these extra courses can be really hard. So I think that's one of a key barrier to getting into the environmental sector. And I also think where things happen, so specifically in Scotland, a lot of what we do can be based in the central belt because that's where the vast majority of the population is. But when you're looking at the other young people who are maybe based up in the Highlands or based in the islands or based even up in Aberdeen, it can be quite hard for them to get involved with in-person activities. So I actually think that's one way that's come off the back of COVID is like, I think a lot of people have realized we can do a lot of stuff online now, and we can have that sort of combined approach in person and also online. And I still think it's a challenge for people, and I think we do need to look at how do we ensure that we're getting that broad range of people from different backgrounds from across the country involved in the environmental sector and also involved in the trust. And I think those two, anyway, to me, are two that kind of stick out at ways that we need to work on in the future to try and get more people involved. And there are challenges that young people face currently. Thanks,
Ali. It's a really good answer to a very good question as well. We could probably talk about that one for quite a long time. It's a good one. We have another, so we have a comment here, which might be interesting to talk about, from Kenneth. So I think government should make policy for education about nature to be mandatory in school curriculum, if this isn't already the case. Catherine, I know you do quite a bit of outreach with schools. Do you have any comments on
that? Yes. So policy for education about nature. So there is already in the Curriculum for Excellence requirement for outdoor learning and learning about nature. So that's one good thing, it's already in there. And often we get contacted by schools and education providers to go in and deliver sessions as part of that remit, because they're looking for the expertise and the knowledge to help them fulfill that criteria. And where we can, we obviously go in and deliver that. And we also, where we can, try and do CPD, so career professional development, with the teachers and the other leaders, try and give them the skills so that they can lead those sessions when we are gone, and they can lead them independently and hopefully continue to pass on those skills. So it is really important. I think it's better than it used to be in recent decades. I think it's going in the right direction. There's always room for more. And it's something that we're keen to kind of stress with our education and engagement work. It's one of the priorities at the Trust to help people connect with nature and make sure that they're engaged and that they understand the wildlife that we have in this country, that they have access to the green spaces and the wildlife that we have in this country, and that they're able to then understand the steps that they need to take to help us to protect it. And it all goes hand in hand. You can't really do any of those steps without the others. So it is very important. It is in the Curriculum for Excellence, but it would be great to see a bit more of it.
Thanks, Catherine. So we have, at the moment, we have one more question. If there's anything else you want to add, please do add it into the question and answer box and we'll get to it. If not, this might be the final one, but I'll go ahead with this one. So it's another anonymous question. Do you think over time there might be opportunity for more youth volunteer groups like the Young Leaders within different Scottish Wildlife Trust constituencies in Scotland? So I guess with that one, it's more kind of regionally focused young leader groups. Does anyone want to pick up that question?
Okay, I could go.
Thanks,
yeah, I would just be sharing from my experience as well. When I started my studies in Aberdeen, I was like, I needed to volunteer for an organization. I was searching up for an organization to actually volunteer with. and I came about Scottish Wildlife. I came about a couple of organizations. I came about Scottish Wildlife Trust, and I kind of read through and I saw the role and how fantastic it is in line with what I'm doing. So I think, yes, there are so many opportunities for young people out there. So it's just for you to search well, to have the right organization you want to work with, but there are fantastic opportunities like the young leaders across Scotland that if you want to engage. So if you can actually look out for even the young leaders group, if you want to volunteer for the young leader, if you want to volunteer as a young leader for the Scottish Wildlife Trust, I think sometimes they kind of send some opportunities or volunteering opportunities as well, where you could actually be involved. So in time to time, just like Alice said during our presentation, we have an age limit bracket, and we have situations where things could actually be chalked up and the rest of them, and we actually have an opening for 1 or 2 as well. So you could actually look out for us, and that is one of the reasons why you should follow us on Twitter and follow us on Wildlife Champions, where you could actually disseminate information and share opportunities as well. So including the Wildlife Champions, we also have a platform where people send in their internship opportunities, volunteering opportunities, a lot of opportunities. So we look forward to, when I say we look forward to more engagement and events, we look forward to putting up such opportunities when it comes by on our Twitter page, on our website, so you can actually see some of these opportunities. So stay tuned and follow us on all our social media platforms. Definitely there are. Yeah, thank you.
That's a great answer, Chinedu, and I just want to expand on that in terms of the recruitment and how we get new people into the Young Leader team. We have kind of 2 ways people leave. Either they decide it's a kind of natural endpoint for them, they've done what they needed to do on the team, and they're moving on to other things, or they might be moving away. When you're in your 20s, you tend to be doing lots of different things, so people often move on in that way, and that creates a vacancy. And as Ali was saying earlier on, the upper age limit is 30, or the end of the year that you turn 30. So we do have people who leave because they reach that upper age limit. So either way, at the end of the year, we do usually have 1 or 2 vacancies on the team. So it's towards the end of the year, December and January, that we do our recruitment. So if this has sounded really interesting to you and you're thinking maybe you'd like to be on the Young Leader team in future, as Chinedu was saying, keep an eye on the social media, the Wildlife Champions group, the Young Leaders Twitter account, because we will promote on there when we're recruiting. Towards the end of this year, there will be at least 1 space. So keep an eye out and do apply, because we welcome everybody's applications. We want a nice, diverse group of people on our team, and we enjoy the recruitment process. So do apply if you think it's something you'd like to have a go at. In terms of whether we think there could be more youth groups around Scotland, I think this is a really promising up and coming thing. The Year of Young People 2018, which is what generated the Young Leaders at the Scottish Wildlife Trust, created a huge amount of momentum and interest across the sector in getting young people involved. And the legacy of all those youth groups is still ongoing. Everybody's continued those programs because everybody can see the benefits. So it's a growing aspect to everybody's work. There's still a lot of opportunities out there. So I would say search on the volunteer opportunities pages. As Chinedu was saying, keep an eye out on our volunteer pages, because I think opportunities for young people are on the up at the moment. So that's a really nice, promising thing and a nice legacy from the Year of Young People back in 2018.
Thanks, Catherine and Chinedu, for answering that one. We do have another question that's just come in from Rose. Thank you, Rose. What advice would you give to other wildlife trusts looking to start something similar? I think Catherine would be a good place to start for this one.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's really nice to hear from other organisations, other trusts and other organisations that they like what the young leaders are doing and that they would like to see something in their own organisation, at their own trust. And it's actually been nice to achieve how much we have achieved within the core budget. So we haven't needed to apply for funding. We haven't been reliant on project funding or tight deadlines or anything like that. We basically prioritised it within the core people and wildlife budget, initially for a period of 8 months, I think it was. It was kind of like a trial to see how it would go. And really the main cost to it is my time. And I don't spend too much time on it per week. It averages out about a day a week. or half a day sometimes in our quieter times, because the young leaders are excellent and can take a lot of the responsibility and a lot of the tasks on themselves. So it's actually a very self-sustaining model. There's not really needed there's not much needed by way of resources financially. It's mainly just the commitment to it, and whether you can find it in staff time, and when we're doing other projects, whether you can find the capacity within other staff teams to support on those projects. It takes a little bit of staff time for support, but otherwise it's quite self-sustaining, and the outputs that we get from it are huge compared to what we need to put in. So it's well worth doing, and it allows us, it really has increased our reach, it's increased our diversity within the organization. It's a two-way street. You know, the young leader team are gaining skills and experience and knowledge, and just to be in a conservation organization when you're at that early stage in your career is a huge benefit to the team, and at the same time they're helping us to reach other young people through the platforms. Before COVID, we did used to do face-to-face events, so we used to actually reach real young people in real life. It's huge. It's helped us to reach more people, and you just naturally are more in tune with younger people than the staff team who are not necessarily in that demographic. So it's well worth doing. It's not that resource heavy. That said, obviously, you know, if you had a bit more, we could look at more things, bigger events, more training opportunities. Always helps if you've got a bit more money in the pot. But I think one of the really nice things when I'm talking to people about young leaders and how it all came about and the amount of things you've achieved is that I can say it's been done on virtually nothing. There hasn't been an injection of cash. It's not big budget. And yet look at everything that's been achieved. All it takes is the commitment and the drive and the ambition, which the team have in spades. So I would say, if you want to do it, go for it, and just see what happens.
Thanks, Catherine. It's really useful. I've had another question come through in the chat here from Amy. So it's, what do you think is the most important thing we should all be focusing on to help Scotland's wildlife? That's a very good question. Also a very tricky one. Who wants to go first maybe for this one? Who can go around?
Okay, let me say this. Let me just go. Yeah, that's a tricky one actually. But one thing I've come to understand is the environment is so dynamic, like it's interlinked. One thing is interlinked to another. So if you say you're going to focus on one particular one and, you know, give less attention to the other one, somehow it has an indirect effect as well. So I think it's very important as you're doing this, you're also doing that. Just for example, let's say conservation of a particular species, climate change as well. If you say, oh, let's focus on climate change, but indirectly there will be biodiversity loss or something. So if you focus on biodiversity loss, indirectly there will be the climate change is degrading. So the environment is so dynamic and it's so interlinked in such a way that one effect on one can have a direct or indirect effect on another. So it's good to actually look out for the whole aspect, just the way the young leaders came about their 11 actions, you know, the video we played. So we came up, it encompasses what we feel, it encompasses everything about the environment. It's about sustainable fishing, about climate change, about this, about species protection. So it's everything we actually want to see it, and with a particular time frame. And that time frame is strategically placed so that in such a way that, oh, we've actually achieved this, but yeah, this one is going in this particular year. So it's a systematic way of actually looking out for all the goals that you want to achieve, particularly when it comes to environment. So I wouldn't say give more attention to one or less, but I think it's important we actually pay attention to all. You know, they say everything that is worth doing well. So it's good to actually pay attention to all the targets or all the goals that you have.
Absolutely, it's a big picture thing for sure. You need to factor a lot of different things in. I do have a sort of answer for this, but I feel like I'm cheating a little bit because I'm using someone else's answer. But I think the nature recovery plan, which we spoke about earlier on in the presentation, is has been put together by the Scottish Wildlife Trust, WWF Scotland, and RSPB as well. and they've just put it all into kind of one big document, the kind of main things that we really need to do to allow nature to recover. So I definitely recommend checking that out. It's a very cheeky answer because I didn't put it together, and it's about 11 answers because there's 11 actions as a nature recovery plan. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting document and yeah, really important. Does anyone else have anything to add to that question?
I don't really have, I don't have one thing, but I think the nature, like just building on what both Sinead and Imogen have said, I think we need to really just be ambitious. Like, an idea might sound crazy right now, but we're in a time where we need to see that drive, we need to see that ambition, and we need to go big. And I think really, we are seeing movement there. I think we are like starting to build to that point. And I really hope that, like, sort of with the drive of the young leaders and other youth organizations, there are other organizations as well, and like with the lead up to COP, I really do think that we can start doing that. I really think we need to start driving home that, and we can't like not compromise on things. We need to go big. We need to really ambitious, maybe sounding a bit crazy ideas, but if it delivers for climate change and also delivers for biodiversity through nature-based solutions and things like that, and everything that's included in the nature recovery plan, then I say let's go for it and let's do it, and let's all join in and go along for the ride.
Great answer, Ali. Thank you for that. That was brilliant. So we have one more question in the box at the moment. It's maybe, so I'll read it out for now. So it's from an anonymous attendee, and it's, I have some land which I've been allowing to rewild for the past few years. I'm looking at getting advice and doing more research to enhance this moving forward. Do young leaders collaborate with landowners? So thanks for this one. This sounds brilliant, and I'm sure it's looking really beautiful. It's not something that we've really been involved in so far. But Catherine, I don't know if there's anything you can advise on this one.
It's not, as you say, it's not something that the young leader team is involved directly with. What you could do is head to our website. We've got lots of advice on what you can do with pieces of land, whether it's as small as your garden, or as you say, you've got a large plot of land that you're looking to rewild. There's top tips on there, particularly in our How to Help Wildlife at Home section of the website. So you might find some ideas in there. Yeah, I mean, that would be my top recommendation. I'm just trying to think if there's another team at the Trust who might be able to provide a few answers, but I think your best bet is to head to our website and see some examples of things that you can do at different times of the year, in different habitats, depending on what you're trying to achieve and which wildlife you're trying to attract. I mean, one of the best things you can do is, and this is if you've got a garden or a larger piece of land, is to just leave it and just let it go wild. And it's also the laziest option. It's great. You can just leave it and see what happens, and you will get wildlife coming to you. But yeah, if you want more structured tips than that, I would say head to our website, particularly the How to Help Wildlife at Home. Also head to our blogs, because there's bound to be people who have written pieces in a similar way, and probably some pieces on rewilding on there as well. And I know rewilding in general has been a topic of some of our previous webinar talks. So if you head to the recorded online talks, you might be able to pick up some tips from there as well.
Thank you, Catherine. Perfect. I'll pop the link in the chat for that page on the website as well for Helping Wildlife at Home. So hopefully that gives you some tips to go on. Thanks everyone for your questions. We don't have any more in the box at the moment, so I think that might be us. Cool. I'll pass back to you, Catherine. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Imogen. Expertly done. And thank you again to our panel for all your fantastic answers and your time this evening. It's been an absolute joy to hear from you, to hear your perspective on the Young Leaders Programme, and to hear your ambitions for the future as well. Super exciting year and years ahead for us all. Thank you everybody for joining us this evening. Apologies again for the chat. If you do think of any questions that you'd like to ask once this event has finished, just send them through to the email that you registered with, which is Nick's email, nwright@scottishwildlifetrust.org.uk, and we'll try and get an answer to you But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a lovely evening, and hopefully see you again in the future.